I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you, I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I have acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Hold up. Isn't that a different movie? Right? Hey everyone, so Rambo 5 is the latest and I'd say worst entry in the Rambo franchise, which really shouldn't be a franchise. And it kind of bums me out to say that because the first two Rambo flicks were classic 80s action, with part 1 being the stronger and more thoughtful of the two. Part 3 was okay, and all I recall of it was a Soviet helicopter, the bare knuckle fight that was parodied in Hot Shots Part 2 and Afghanistan. As a trilogy, it wasn't the best series of the 80s, but it sure as hell wasn't the worst. I can still watch those movies today and enjoy them, but I can't say the same thing for part 4, you know, the one with the explosive arrows, and this newest one. Rambo 5 is one part Liam Neeson's Taken, a small portion of Hugh Jackman's Logan, and the remainder is a Rambo revenge fantasy. I'll continue to say this because I think it's important. I appreciate the work that goes into making movies, and I know they're costly in terms of labor and money. One of the positive things I liked about this movie was the inclusion of the original film score. I really love that tune. But besides that, it's not a good movie. Okay. One of the positive things I liked was the inclusion of the original film score. I love that tune. But with that being said, this is not a good movie, like at all. The cinematography and sound are subpar, especially when they're in Mexico. It looks really bad. The plot points and action beats are so foreseeable. The only surprising thing was the level of violence at the end, which in itself then became redundant after like the first 3 minutes. And at a short runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes, 70% of the movie is clearly lifted from Taken. Rambo lives on a ranch with a young woman and her grandmother. I guess they were in part 4, I don't remember. The young woman is on her way to college, but she wants to meet her dad before she goes. And a friend found her dad in Mexico. Rambo and the grandmother tell her not to go because he's a scumbag. Of course, she decides to go anyway. You know, plot's gotta happen, right? And so she meets the dad. He tells her he never wanted her and her mother in the first place. She gets emotionally wrecked. The friend takes her to a club, you know, in Mexico, and she gets taken by some guy who then drugs her and forces her into prostitution. Rambo tries to find her and is stopped on his first attempt. However, a random independent journalist helps him recover from his injuries, and on his second attempt, he's able to rescue the young woman with literally no resistance. But she dies on the way back to the ranch, and it was sort of sad. I say sort of because if she didn't die, there wouldn't be any motivation for Rambo to go to war with the human traffickers, and he's got to go to war. So her death was sort of necessary for the plot, just like the journalist's momentary aid to Rambo was necessary. The group responsible for her death is run by 2 brothers, one of whom I recognize as Sergio Perez Mencheta, who plays Gustavo Oso Zapata on Snowfall. That show is so good. So Rambo then goes back into Mexico by himself, and with more help from the journalist, he's able to find one of the brothers, takes him out, and leaves a photo of the young woman next to the brother's corpse so that the bad guys would know, you know, who did it. He then heads back home across the border to his ranch, sends his grandma packing, and sets up his defenses in the tunnels beneath his house in a montage worthy of the A-Team. Oh, by the way, he has tunnels beneath his house. Why? Well, the young woman asked him that same question when she was still alive, and the movie had no answer, so just because. For someone who was still clearly suffering from PTSD as a consequence of his time in Vietnam, you know, where the Viet Cong actually used tunnels and other improvised traps to ambush American GIs, I thought it was a little counterintuitive that he would do such a thing. At first, I thought the tunnels were already there when he bought the place, you know, left over from coyotes smuggling people into the US, considering the house's proximity to the Mexican border. And really, I guess there really wasn't any indication as to the location for the house, but the young woman was able to leave the ranch, sometime in the morning or mid-afternoon, and then get to her friend's place in Mexico before nightfall, so they can't be that far away. Anyway, Rambo sets up all of these traps in the tunnels and also brings his guys to Rambo's ranch. I initially wondered how Oso was able to find Rambo's house, but then remembered that Oso took Rambo's driver's license in that first encounter. But then again, I also remembered that the brother showed it to the young woman, so maybe Oso found it next to it doesn't matter. The guys showed up to Rambo's place, and the massacre was actually interesting at first. Just Rambo being Rambo. But then it felt like it went on for a little bit too long, so long that I began to wonder if there were actually that many people who arrived in those 6 or 7 vehicles. It seemed unlikely. This, by the way, is the Rambo revenge part of the movie. At last, it was Oso versus Rambo 1v1, and it was anticlimactic. Previously, Rambo had told Oso over the radio that he was going to rip Oso's heart out of his chest, and after pinning Oso to a barn door, maybe it was a wall, whatever, he pinned him to this barn with 4 arrows that were not explosive, and he walks up to him and he literally just cuts open his chest and he pulls his heart out, and I was just like, what the hell? He cuts Oso's chest open and pulls out his still beating heart, a la Temple of Doom, the worst, second worst Indiana Jones movie. I'm not a medical examiner and I don't know how to perform autopsies, but I'm fairly certain that you can't cut through bone with the knife Rambo had, no matter how badass, and open a human's chest cavity wide enough to squeeze in and pull out their heart. I just don't see it happening, right? And really, up until the heart thing, I was actually on board with the movie. It was a dumb homage to the franchise's heyday, but then the heart thing knocked all that down, And Rambo, who had been shot twice during the whole tunnel assault, he stumbled to his front porch and sat in a rocking chair while Sylvester Stallone gave a brief voiceover speech about how he left people behind and how he outlived people he loved. And then the credits started, and I was like, what the hell? That's it? What is this? You're not Logan? What is this? The ending was garbage, but not just any garbage. It was Boston accent garbage. It was garbage. Oh my goodness. But then the credits started rolling, and they were showing these clips from the first movie, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Kind of playing. Kind of showing where the whole thing started. And I was like, okay, that's a pretty cool callback. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna leave this movie theater in a good mood after all. But then it started showing clips from the second movie, and I was like, oh, all right, that's something. And then it showed clips from the third movie, and I was like, wait a minute, is this thing, are you just gonna, and it sure did. It showed clips from the 4th movie, and then oddly enough, clips from the 5th movie, the movie I had just watched. And it completely just messed me up. Why show clips of a movie presented at the end of the movie, and they weren't even outtakes or bloopers some of Jackie Chan's stuff. It was just the same exact clips that were in the movie. Those same exact scenes that I just watched were now at the end of the movie. I didn't understand it then, and I don't understand it now. I don't get it. Overall, I wouldn't watch this thing again. The movie provides nothing, not even a decent send-up to the 80s action genre. The characters are forgettable, the story is bleh, and Rambo was on his last leg 30 years ago. I'd give the movie 2 red bandanas out of 10. Don't spend your money on this at the theater or on DVDs or anything. Wait for it to come out on a streaming service that you're already paying for, or on network TV or something. That's gonna do it for this review. Comment down below if you've seen Rambo 5 and how you think it compares to the rest. Like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.
I'm gonna tear you apart. This is what it feels like.
It's not even so bad it's good, it's just bad and boring. You're gonna end the franchise, well, supposedly end the franchise with Rambo in a rocking chair? Are you kidding me? If you're gonna do that, just have the guy, bloodied or whatever, drive himself into the sunset. His truck was still there on the farm. Oh, the other thing with the farm was he had actually gotten also out of the tunnels by collapsing the tunnels. And the outside shot of the land showed like these huge like troughs, like just gouges like in the ground. And I'm like thinking to myself as I'm watching all this stuff collapse, like, good luck selling that property, dude. Like, it's not gonna happen. And then of course, you know, no one heard these explosions in the whole county, I guess. There's no cops in the area, obviously. But anyway, have him, instead of being in the rocking chair like some loser, okay, have him go to his truck, you know, his blood running down his shirt and everything, and he gets in his truck and drives off into the sunset. And then you can play the credits, have the music from the original score going, you know, the whole thing. And then at the end of the credits, it can be a post-credit scene, and he takes out his knife, you know, his iconic knife, slams it on the desk, and then he's like signing into something, and then as the camera zooms out or whatever, you can see him walking into, you know, getting treatment or whatever, but then it says welcome to whatever retirement home. And then that's where you end the movie there. If you're gonna do the rocking chair thing, why just have him sit in the rocking chair? It was so dumb, so goddamn dumb.